Hello, everyone. It's Dottie here. Welcome to the Progressive Vibe. Today is October 19th, 2020. I hope everyone had a great, safe weekend, as well as your families and friends. I hope everybody's been staying safe out there. Um, I did not make a podcast last week, um, so I do want to apologize about that. But I am here today. Uh, I know I told you guys I'll be trying to be making one every Sunday. But I hope you guys know by now that um, when it comes to scheduling, that's not my strongest suit. So I will try to work on that in the near future. But I mean, hey, yesterday was Sunday, today's Monday, so it's not like I'm just like super, super late. Well, I guess technically I am since I didn't make one last week. But regardless, guys, thank you for checking me out. I hope you like what you hear. And yeah, so I didn't really have anything uh wrote down that I was gonna share with you guys. I usually have some stuff uh that I pre-write and stuff, and just want to go over it with you guys and stuff like that, and I share it. But I don't have that today. I really wanted to just make this a vintage session, excuse me, a vintage session. Um, and I just wanted to, just go over some things that was on my mind that I just feel like I should share. And that is voting. Um, I just think that everyone, if you're old enough, um, it doesn't mean that you have to keep up with politics every day, such as myself, but I think it's really important that young folks out here get involved in their local and state elections, not just the big ones, because honestly speaking, all of them are big. Just because it's not the general election doesn't mean that the whatever the vote is, whoever you're voting for, whoever's on the ballot in your state and local, is just as important. So I really, really wanted to emphasize that part because old folks they're going to vote. Old people are going to vote. They just take the voting process a little bit more serious than the younger population. And I think you kind of see signs on the wall this year that things are a little different. Seems like more young people are getting involved in the process a lot more. And I feel like that's a credit to how horrible Donald Trump's been in these last 4 years, including his administration, including the Republicans. Uh, you know, Once upon a time ago, in the last 4 years, the Republicans controlled the House, the Senate, and of course the White House. And, they did not do anything. Um, Not saying that things would have been different, much different under a Biden administration if we had Biden for the last 4 years. But I guarantee you, what I will say, Biden would have listened to the scientists when it came to the pandemic. And we obviously know, if you don't know, Trump just don't believe in science. He's already said this. He don't think what Dr. Fauci is saying is true. And a recent advertisement that Trump put out, he doctored some of Dr. Fauci's wording and made it seem like what Trump was saying was right. And Dr. Fauci had to come on TV the other day and dispute that. And it's just kind of just shows you some of the stuff that Trump would do that I don't necessarily think that Biden would do. Now, again, I think that how bad of a job Trump particularly has did with this whole coronavirus handling has shot him in the foot when it comes to older voters and younger voters. I just think that, and I think he knows that too. I think he knows that he's in a. I think he knows he's in a world of trouble when it comes to his numbers. And I think that he's going to try to pull out all the stops in order to, try to win the election again. And I've already kind of mentioned that stuff in some of my previous podcasts. So if you haven't heard me speak on that, please go back and check out some of my podcasts that I made on that, and I'll I furtherly go into detail on things to do with that. So yeah, guys, if you haven't checked out that, check out that. But yeah, man, it's just really, really crucial to go vote. And I was at the barbershop. When was I at the barbershop? I was at the barbershop last Friday, and I asked my barber. He's a young kid. I think he's just now 18. And I asked him, hey, were you planning on voting, in November? And he was just like, not really, I don't like Trump, I don't like Biden. It just seems like they're just all the same. And he asked me, was I going to go vote? And he asked me, did I think that he should go vote? And I said yes and yes. I said, I told him, I was like, yo, I'm about 10 years older than you. And I had that kind of same mentality that, I didn't really keep up with the news because I had so much stuff going on. Honestly speaking, guys, who really pays attention to the news when you're like 17, when you're like 18, 19, 20 years old? You know what I mean? You just don't really have time for it. And so I told him that, I didn't really do it as much as I should have when I was, his age. But I told him, I was like, I think that this election is going to mean a lot more if it shows that more people are getting involved in the voting process, because I can't remember the exact number, but it's a lot of early voting. It's a lot, like in the millions, that has voted early, and it outpaces the number that was in 2016 by a long shot. There's more people getting involved, and getting involved early. And I just told him that, and I was telling him why I thought that a lot of people were getting more involved early, particularly at his age, is because what Trump has did in the last 4 years. And I asked him, I was like, hey, I know you say you really don't pay attention to politics like that. You don't really want to, excuse me, you don't really want to get involved with it too much, because at the end of the day, it's just politicians being politicians, which he's kind of right. Politicians just being politicians. They say what you want to hear, and they, at the end of the day, they don't do nothing but align their pockets with corporate PAC money, and we're seeing that this go around with Biden as well, because again, Biden leans in the right direction of progressive values. He leans in the right direction, but he doesn't go full force in embracing progressive ideals, because he's a politician, and he has corporate donors, and it's only so far that he can go, on a Green New Deal, or taxing the rich, or or Medicare for all, things like that. And so, but anyway, back to my barber, and so I was just telling him, I was like, I just think that you should go exercise your voice. And I told him that, just think, man, it's a lot of people out there also that think like you do, and it's like, I know I don't like the current president. Excuse me, guys. My alarm went off. I know I don't like the current president, but the other guy who's going against this president is not that much better. And so it's not going to really change anything. So, why go vote? And I told him, I was just like, it's a lot of people out there that has that same type of mentality. And I understand. I mean, your government has not gave a damn about you, it just being real, financially, just a bunch of other crap, and my barber's Latino descent, and I think that has a lot to do with it too. He lives in Alabama, and we all know what kind of politics Alabama likes. So so I understand. It's just like, well, I live in a state that it's just gonna be kind of same old. But see, that's what, and I told him, I was like, that's what's gonna be the end of that, because if we have more people such as yourself that, yeah, you know what, maybe my vote is going to be for somebody who's not really going to do anything else either, but it won't be that guy who has been so horrible in the last 4 years that over 210 plus thousand people died because of COVID, because of precautionary measures that he didn't choose to implement because he thought it was a hoax or it was fake or something that was uh, planned. It was something that was planned to get him out of office or whatever Donald Trump be talking about. You know what I mean? And so he was just like, hey, that's a good point. That's a good point. And I was like, and I told him, I was like, well, I guess so. I was like, I'm not trying to like make you uh, feel some type of way or something like that. I'm just trying to like, you know, get you involved in starting to go vote. I was like, because it's a lot of things that, Biden might not necessarily support full fledged, but we just had a primary earlier this year, and Bernie was inches away from being the nominee taking on Trump in November. Sadly, it didn't work out that way, and if you follow politics, I'm pretty sure you kind of know what happened with that. But and I told him Bernie has a lot of political pull. He has a lot of delegates. He won a lot of delegates in that primary facing Biden. And so he has a lot of power and a lot of pull from his side of the wing, the progressive wing, that, Biden is going to need those votes. He's going to need all the support he can get to win this election in November. So if you want our vote, you need to start prioritizing some of our priorities, some of our policies, and so forth. And I told him I was like, I don't know what side of the spectrum that you are on when it comes to a party. I was like, but it seems like you're more for democracy. And he was like, yeah, and I was like, so what do you mean by that? He was just like, well, what I mean by that is I want somebody in office who's going to actually deliver what they go say, actually speak to people out there who's not celebrities or athletes or so forth. I mean, and I understand this guy, he's a barber. He cuts hair for a living, and I just don't think that the system has been too good to barbers. I can go on and on for or restaurant workers or grocery store workers or truck drivers in some sense, or farmers, or so forth and so forth and so forth. Healthcare workers, I could keep going. So I was just like, that is a good point. I was like, you raised a good point. And it struck me. I was like, so you're looking to be enthusiastic about something. He was like, yes. And that just goes to show you about the whole Biden pick, because there's nobody enthusiastic to vote for Biden. It's just like people want to get Trump out. So it's just like, okay, choosing the lesser of two evils. And it's kind of like 2016 all over again in some instance. Now, Biden, I don't know when it comes to Hillary and Biden. So many people, including myself, don't like Hillary just because, I don't know, it's just Hillary Clinton. You know what I mean? And I guess the thing that at least Biden has going for himself is he was the vice president of Obama, and so he's been in Congress a long time, 47 years. And credit where credit's due is not much, but I'm gonna throw this bone to Trump. When Trump said it in the first debate, which I also expressed my thoughts. You can go back and watch that on my podcast, or listen to that on my podcast. But he was expressing that, Biden, you've been in office for 47 years, or you've been in Congress for 47 years, and you have not acted on any of these things that you're proposing now, which is true, because some of the stuff that Biden has said that he wants to do, I could have never thought that he would have said this in his early years. It's a couple of people who's been consistent, Bernie, you know, on their message for since they've been in Congress. They haven't wavered on their on their proposals or on their positions. It's just what's the right thing to do. So it's not hard for you to, and I'm talking about Bernie, and it's not hard for you to go out on camera or go to a rally or whatever the case may be and express these views that you share because you sincerely believe in them, because that's been your message since you've been serving in Congress. And so, I understood where he was coming from, and I told him we won't never get to know if any of these things that you say are possible if we don't go vote. Because it's a lot of people out there that don't hold those same type of values and policy ideas that we believe in. And they're gonna go out there and vote, and if it's enough people out there on their side to to do that, to stop that, then they will. And and I told him, you just gotta at least try, and I just started naming some stuff. I was like, one thing that Biden expressed when he becomes president, and honestly it needs to happen in the first 100 days, is raising the minimum wage up to a livable wage, and that's $15 an hour. Personally, I think it should be higher than that, but it's better than $7.25. Much better than $7.25. So that's one of the things that he's trying to do. I think he wants to make healthcare accessible for everybody, kids and people. I think, what is it? I think if you're 55 or older, you'll be able to receive health care. Bernie was going to, and I told him, I was like, Bernie was going to make it health care for everybody. And I think Biden has another proposal where if you make, what is it? If you make less than $40,000, I think that this is what he said. I know he said community colleges will be tuition free for kids, but I think if you're trying to go to a public college, I think you have to be making less than $40,000 to receive tuition free public college. Bernie was going to make tuition free college abroad. He was just going to make it for everybody, which is obviously where I was going with it. But again, I was telling, and he didn't know any of this, and I guess that's a point into like talking to people and expressing to people. And for my audience out here that's listening to this, get involved. You're already involved, but like, if you got friends, if you know people, you don't have to be friends with them. If you just associate yourself with them, and that's at work or whatever the case may be, hey, everybody's not going to hold your same, values and beliefs, but it is important to get people to vote. It just is. I personally believe at the end of the day, it's more like-minded people, like such as myself, and you guys, than it is on the opposite side. And that's just me speaking from the heart. I truly believe that. And so I just feel like he kind of listened to me and I understood his points. I understood that, and I felt the same way. That's the thing. It's about understanding where people coming from. It's not always about try to make your point. It's about listening sometimes and hearing those other express thoughts that other people have to that has to say. And you never know. You always learn from other folks. You just don't, and that's what I do. I listen to people. I don't try to necessarily act like I just know everything, because I don't. But the more I listen to people, the more I get a better understanding of people's problems. And to me, that's politics 101. It's not about you watching the news every day or listening to the news every day or whatever you do to consume politics. Uh, you know, you live it every day. And to me, it's just right versus wrong. Uh, you know, whether it has to do with Trump, whether it has to do with the coronavirus, handling, the handling of the coronavirus, excuse me, uh, whether that's putting money in people's pocket more. I don't think people should be having to work two and three, four, sometimes four jobs to make it. Uh, I don't think anybody should be homeless. Just to me, basic human right type of things. And so, but yeah, guys. So we're gonna take a quick break. I've already talked for 26 minutes. I actually wanted to take a break on my 20th, on the 20th minute mark. But yeah, guys, we're gonna take a break real quick, and I'm going to close my VENTage session out by giving you guys some website addresses to vote if you haven't, or register to vote if you haven't. So, guys, stick around and we will be back. Hey guys, it's Dottie here. We're back on the Progressive Vibe. So I wanted to get back in this VENTage session and pretty much to put a bow on everything. I really wanted to just let you guys know, if you haven't already, that you can still register to vote. You can still vote by mail. It's time's getting very, very close. So if you haven't requested your mail-in ballot or your absentee ballot, which is requested here in the state of Alabama, you maybe need to go ahead and get on that. I've decided that I'm going to go in person to vote because so much is going on with mail-in voting and absentee voting, particularly with the post office, particularly with UPS and so forth. I'm sure you guys are already aware of that. But I think that it's necessary this time to go in person and go vote. I seen, I think it was last week sometime, that in Georgia, some of the lines were 8, 9, 10 hours long, which is just crazy. But it's all, obviously it's all a plot to get people to not vote. And I commend those people in Georgia. I want to say it was a case in Texas too. I'm pretty sure it's going on everywhere. And if it's not hit your state yet, it's probably going to. But I commend everyone that is out there standing in line, and continuing to stay in line and using their right to vote. And I'm so glad that there's so many people out there that's willing to fight that good fight. Because the other side is gonna fight that fight too. Even though I feel like they're on the wrong side of history. But hey, you fight for what you believe in, right? And so I definitely fight for what I believe in. I know it's people out there, like-minded individuals, that want to fight the good fight. So I got confidence that good's gonna always prevail over evil. And so that's just my mindset of it, guys. But I want to let you guys know, if you haven't registered to vote already, you can register at headcount.org. That's headcount.org. It will take about 2 minutes. It will just ask you some basic information, like your first name, your last name, your street address, your city, your state, your zip code, date of birth, email, phone number. I want to say below that registration sign up tab, you can see a list of 50 states, 50 states rules, their deadlines, and the register to vote process. So it has all that stuff on there. And again, that's headcount.org to get registered if you have not gotten registered to vote. What else do I need to say to you guys? I made a podcast. It was episode 4. It was season 2, episode 4. And it was how to vote by mail in Alabama. I have that podcast already. And if you guys want to check that out, you can for more details about it. But I do want to say, if you live in the state of Alabama and you want to vote by mail again, the time's ticking, guys. And I want to say, after this week, if you haven't did it already, you're gonna probably have to just go and vote, go in person and vote. But I'm gonna go ahead and give you guys the information again. I go into just like the laws and the identification process that you have to go through in the state of Alabama when it comes to absentee voting. So if you guys want to check that podcast out, again, it's already posted. You guys can check it out. It's season 2, episode 4. But in the meantime, if you have access to a printer, you can download the absentee ballot application at www.sos.alabama.gov/Alabama-votes/absentee-ballot-applications. So if you need to print out a absentee ballot application, that is how you do so. Again, if you need to print out a absentee ballot application, I'm going to read it one more time for you guys. It's www.sos.alabama.gov/Alabama-votes/absentee-ballot-applications. Let me see. If you need finding your local absentee election manager, Here's the website address to do so. It is www.sos.alabama.gov/city-county-lookup/absentee-election-manager. And that is if you need to find your local absentee election manager.
Sorry, I can't find the answer to the question I heard.
I don't know if you guys heard that, but Alexa just listened in on my podcast. Kind of creeped me out for real. So, but yeah, guys. Anyway, that's kind of all I have for you guys. I want to make a podcast after the final debate between Biden and Trump. If you guys didn't know, yes, it's still happening. It is going to be happening Thursday, and it's going to be the final one. They had town halls last week, which was kind of weird. Trump didn't want to do Zoom call. He didn't want to do a Zoom call debate. So pretty much just like he didn't want to do an online debate with Biden because, you know, he wants to be able to hear the audience and see the audience, because to me he needs that in order to, I mean, can you imagine Trump just like on Zoom call and somebody asking him a policy question or just a question in general? And I don't know, how the way he talks and how the way he is, he just needs support from the crowd in order to keep saying the bull crap that he say. Or I guess he needs the validation of the crowd. And if he doesn't have that, then you would really just be able to listen directly to him. You won't be able to see any crowd. You won't be able to see any head nods. Like in that town hall, he had his own town hall set up, and every time they would show him in the background, it was like these three ladies, and you can tell they were Trump supporters because literally everything he was saying, even if it was like crazy, even if it was like not the answer to the question that the commentator asked, even if it was just like some far out left field answer that he gave, or even if it was a lie, just a flat out lie, which he did that a lot. But they were just like nodding their head in agreement the whole time. And, you know, I think Trump kind of needs that type of that kind of crowd support in order to be able to build off of what he says. And if he doesn't have that, then he kind of really doesn't have any kind of anything else other than that, you know. But I mean, he spoke to his base, and if you just ask me how he did when it comes to his base, he probably did well. Biden, only thing Biden had to do in his town hall was not to look like a maniac, and having some empathy, which Biden does when it comes to certain situations. And so I think he didn't like wow me or anything like that, but did he look less crazy? Yeah, probably so. I think it was kind of ridiculous for them to be having two town halls at the same time. I think the agreement should have been a virtual debate. That's what should have happened, but Trump didn't want to do that, so he wanted to do his own town hall on a separate network and at the same time. So, and I want to say honestly, I think Biden actually won the ratings battle. I think he actually got more ratings than Trump, and so I'm pretty sure Trump didn't like that too much. But yeah, guys, I didn't really want to too much hammer in on the whole town hall thing because it really, I mean, every time they talk, they don't really have substance to what they're saying. But those town halls were kind of like just, to me, it was just shenanigans. So I guess Thursday is going to be, since they're going to both be there together debating each other, I guess I'm going to tune in again and probably make a podcast related to that. So I want to do that Friday. No promises, but I definitely am going to talk to you guys very, very soon. It's always been a pleasure. I really, really thank you guys for listening and tuning in and sharing my podcast. I feel like every time I make one, I get a little better, a little bit better, a little bit better. Thanks to you guys. Thanks for the emails. Thanks for following me on Twitter. If you want my Twitter handle, it is Dottie, DODI _ Vibe, VIBE. And you can reach me on Twitter. And if you need to email me about anything, any kind of critiques, any kind of questions, I will try to respond and provide the best way I can. My email handle is K Dodrick. That's my first name. K as in King, Dodrick, DODRICK. That's KDODRICK at yahoo.com. And yeah, guys, you can reach me there. And I hope you guys have a great rest of your Monday. Hope to talk to you guys before the week ends. You guys stay safe out there. Continue to wear your mask. And we're going to see you guys next time. Peace out, guys. Peace and love.